Hey, it's Adam from Resolution Audio Video in Brooklyn, New York, and I am in a vinyl hellhole right now. What is a vinyl hellhole, may you ask? Well, just take a look. So if you've been following along our journey, we had a fire in our space in Red Hook. While nothing actually caught fire, everything was exposed to smoke and 24 hours of seawater, salt water, from the fire trucks and fire boats. And everything was hosed down for 24 hours with seawater from fire boats. And if you know anything about the seawater in Red Hook, it's not the cleanest seawater out there. It's kind of connected to the Gowanus Canal, which is one of the most polluted waterways in the United States. Well, inside our space, not only was all of our equipment, all of our inventory, and everything we've ever done really, but also was my record collection. I've been collecting well over 25 years. I was buying records when nobody wanted records because I was an audiophile and record lover before it was cool again. Inside our listening room was about 10,000 records. Almost all of them got wet, and it wasn't pretty. And the problem with the recovery from our space is that we had limited amounts of time to go in there and recover things. So when we went to try and rescue things out of our space, we went for the most expensive, easy stuff first. And even the stuff that we did recover, most things were compromised in some way or another. So every time we went back in there, my record collection was sitting there, and I'd kind of poke at it and I'd be like, is it wet? Is it this? Is it that? And the reality is that most of it was wet. What's interesting is that even sealed records that were never opened managed to get completely soaked. And actually some of the sealed records were in the worst condition because they weren't able to breathe at all. Where the water came into the sealed records, I'm not sure if there was like a hole or if it was just porous plastic or what have you. A lot of the records in there, I would say, most of them were just not recoverable. The jackets literally turned to mush. So when you picked them up, it was just a moldy goo ball. And I just couldn't save everything. But we took what we could. And I think what I got was, it's not all here. This is just a small segment of it. Maybe a quarter of the collection I took out. We put them in plastic tubs. And we had so much other stuff going on that we couldn't necessarily get to salvaging the records right away. So we put them in this room in tubs, and we ran a whole system of things that I'm about to explain. We have 2 dehumidifiers in here, a HEPA filter, carbon filter as well, a big industrial carbon filter with a inline fan on it, and we'll show you all these things. Every once in a while, to kind of kill the mold and smell in here, we'd run a ionizer, but we can't run that when people are here because it's hazardous for your health. We were monitoring the temperature and humidity in here, and here we got the humidity down to 12% at some points, which is pretty damn dry. So most of the records were in plastic sleeves, but you'd think that would help, but it actually in some cases helped, and a lot of other cases just kept the moisture in. You'll see here what we're down to is some of the stuff that's pretty messed up. But what we did was cut the plastic sleeves off. We took the records out, and we also threw out the record sleeve inside. And just because there's so many records and so many albums, essentially what we did is we lined them up. So the records are outside of their sleeves here, and there's a paper towel separating everything. That actually gave us just enough airflow and just enough wicking action to dry out the records with all these fans and everything blowing on them and circulating in here. So we're still very much in the process of trying to save these records. And the reality is that the records themselves seem to be in perfectly okay condition, but the jackets are definitely, in a lot of situations, really messed up or what have you. But it's funny, I never considered the value of my record collection until I had to make an insurance claim on them, because I never collected records because of their value. I collected them for their musical value. I did make a claim on some of the records, but I couldn't make a claim on all of them because obviously I recovered some of them. So I kind of took a gamble and said, okay, well, I'll recover some of them, and some of them are a complete loss. But you'll see here, you know, a lot of these records are valuable, irreplaceable, you know, original MoFi and classic recordings, and some stuff that if I want to replace, it's going to cost me a lot of money. But again, I'm in it for the musical value. So the next step, now that everything is pretty dry, is that MoFi was very nice to send me outer jackets and inner sleeves. Well, here's the debate. We are a degritter dealer and we love degritter. So we want to run all these through the degritter, but I think there is probably some saltwater residue on these records. So we're probably gonna rinse them first before we run them through the degritter, and then put them in the MoFi sleeves, and then put new plastic sleeves over the actual album cover. And obviously in some cases like this, you know, there might not be any rescuing this, and we just might put it in a generic jacket and, you know, write the title on it. Oh, here's some master tapes too. These don't look so pretty. Yeah. We have more here. Again, a lot of MoFi titles. Actually, this looks like it is all MoFi. This still smells a little mildewy. Definitely we had some molds as well. So ionizer has actually been great at neutralizing that. And I know what you're going to say is probably bad for the records themselves, but the reality is it can't get much worse right now. We're just trying to save what we can. It's going to take a while to clean these up in terms of actually rinsing the records and putting them through the degritter, because the degritter cycle is something like 7, 8, 9 minutes in itself. So if you multiply that by all these records in here, you're talking about weeks probably of work. But we're gonna do it, and we're gonna chip away at it little by little. Also, something to note is one of the ways I was able to have such a huge record collection, 10,000 records, is that we do buy record collections. And what you'll see is that actually we buy record collections not really to resell them, but for, you know, collecting the music. So if you do have a record collection that you're looking to sell, reach out to us and let us know, because as you can tell, we want to treat it with love and care and try and preserve it forever. We did our best, but obviously an unfortunate situation happened. But we're trying our best to save what we have. And again, in here right now is just a small fraction of what we rescued, but we're just chipping away at it in small chunks. So here's a French copy of a Gregory Porter album. And just as an example, this is fully sealed. We've never got a loan. When you have 10,000 records, it's hard to play them all. But fully sealed, but yet there is moisture inside here, which is pretty interesting and does show you just how pervasive that water from the fire department is. So we got to unwrap this and air it out before it gets any worse. There's some more sealed records up here that we'll probably have to go through also. But again, it's just overwhelming how many there are. So we just have to take it one step at a time. Here's a MoFi Sinatra box set. I think this stuff is okay-ish, but the box is definitely messed up. Yeah, this one's still even wet. You'll see it's just kind of mushy. So it's just a lot of work. So let me show you some of the tools we're using in here just to kind of dry everything out in a safe and sane manner. We're a dealer for AC Infinity. You might have seen the grow tent we used to dehumidify some of the gear that we rescued. AC Infinity makes mainly like pot growing supplies for indoor grows, but they also make a lot of AV cooling things as well. And for our custom installations, we'll use a lot of AC Infinity fans. Their systems are really cool and something that you should consider for different applications that have nothing to do with growing weed. But after going through this whole process, I'm considering actually just changing my business to grow weed, because after going through this fire, I don't want to feel anything anymore. That's just a joke. Kind of. This AC Infinity controller here is for this inline motor, and it actually connects to Wi-Fi, and you can remotely control and monitor with an app on your phone the humidity, fan speed, temperature, highs, lows of temperature and humidity in here. So it's very cool. So what we have set up in here with this controller, which is not on right now because the fan would be making noise, is an inline fan which is actually sucking air through this canister, which is filled with activated carbon. So this is killing odor in the air and taking odor out, sucking in through here, through this tube, through the inline motor, and then through a HEPA filter that's inside here. So just kind of keeping any spores and stuff like that down in the air in here and keeping the air circulated. I know what you're going to say, the filter is supposed to go before the motor, but this is filtering out stuff also, so whatever. We also have a big fan here, nothing special, but just keeping stuff circulating in here in terms of airflow. Very powerful fan. Got two dehumidifiers, one over here, one over there. And the dehumidifiers, essentially at this point, there's not enough moisture in the air. We've kind of sucked it all out. So we've kept them running, but they're really just recirculating air and not so much taking moisture out anymore because the humidity levels in here are so low already. And then lastly, we have this ionizer, which again, as I said, is controversial, but the mildew and mold smell in here is so intense that we do have to use it. And while you may say it's harmful to the records, the reality is that we're just doing what we have to do in here to save what we can, and it's better than no records at all. So we run this at night, not when anybody's here. And we also don't run it at the same time as this carbon filter because actually the ionization oversaturates the carbon filter. Yeah, that's really the setup we have going on in here. We've also, in some occasions where there is mold, we have been gently using Lysol and wiping things down just to get rid of the mold. Yeah, these are the tools we're using. That and the degritter record cleaner. So let me know what you think. Am I completely crazy? Is this a waste of time? Do you have a better idea? Interested to hear what you have to say about this. All I know is that when I found out that, you know, we had this fire and the record collection and stuff like that, I mean, obviously the financial loss of things is huge, but also just the emotional loss of possibly losing things that are irreplaceable or have a finite quantity out there in the world really hurts. Anyways, thanks for watching. This is the story of our record collection. Like and subscribe. We have a lot of cool stories and always featuring hi-fi equipment and vinyl and turntables, and obviously we sell new equipment and collect and sell vintage equipment. And yeah, anyways, love to hear your thoughts on what I'm doing here. Peace.